There's something that 93% of women say they want in intimate moments, something that makes the difference between a forgettable experience and one that creates deep connection and satisfaction, yet almost no woman will ever tell you directly what it is. They hope you'll figure it out, they drop subtle hints, but direct communication about this specific thing rarely happens. I'm Dr. Linda Parker, wellness and intimacy advocate, and today I'm revealing the #1 move that transforms ordinary intimate encounters into extraordinary experiences of closeness and pleasure, backed by research and confirmed by thousands of candid conversations with women. Let me be direct. This isn't about complicated techniques, acrobatic positions, or anything that requires a manual. It's actually remarkably simple, which is why it's so frustrating for women when it doesn't happen. The move I'm talking about is this: slowing down and paying attention to her emotional and physical responses throughout the entire experience, not just at the beginning or during specific moments, but continuously from start to finish. That sounds obvious, right? But here's why 93% of women never tell you about it. First, women are conditioned not to be demanding or critical about intimate matters. There's enormous social pressure to be easygoing, to go with the flow, to make their partners feel good about their performance. Second, many women themselves don't fully understand why some experiences feel deeply satisfying and others feel like something's missing. They know there's a difference, but they can't always articulate what creates that difference. Third, talking about this requires vulnerability and the risk that you might feel criticized, and most women would rather avoid conflict than advocate for their needs. So instead of telling you directly, women hope you'll notice the signals, respond to the cues, and adjust accordingly. The problem is, if no one ever teaches you what those signals mean or why they matter, you're essentially navigating in the dark, trying your best but missing the most important element. Here's what this actually looks like in practice. From the very first touch, you're reading her body language, her breathing, her subtle movements, and you're adjusting everything you do based on what you observe. When you kiss her neck and she tilts her head to give you more access, that's a signal. When you touch her and she leans into your hand, that's feedback. When her breathing quickens or her body tenses slightly, those are responses that tell you exactly what's working. But here's the critical part that most men miss. You have to actively look for these signals and respond to them in real time. You can't go on autopilot. You can't follow a script you learned somewhere and assume it works for every woman or even for the same woman every time. Her responses change based on her mood, her stress level, where she is in her cycle, how connected she feels to you in that moment, and countless other variables. The art of paying attention means your pace, your pressure, your focus, everything adjusts constantly based on what her body is telling you. If she's responding enthusiastically to something, you continue and build on it. If her response plateaus or diminishes, you transition to something different. This dynamic adjustment creates an experience where she feels truly seen, heard through her body's language, and responded to as an individual, not as a generic woman you're performing techniques on. Research confirms this overwhelmingly. Studies on intimate satisfaction show that women consistently rank emotional attentiveness and responsiveness as more important than any specific physical technique. Women report higher satisfaction when they feel their partner is present, engaged, and adjusting to their needs rather than following a predetermined routine. The quality of attention matters more than the mechanics of what you're doing. Let me break this down into specific observable behaviors that demonstrate this attentiveness. First is eye contact during non-intense moments. When you're kissing, touching, building anticipation, making genuine eye contact creates connection and allows you to read her emotional state. You can see if she's relaxed and present, or if she's in her head and disconnected. That information tells you whether to continue building intensity or to slow down and reconnect emotionally first. Second is verbal check-ins that feel natural and connected, not clinical. Whispering, "Does this feel good?" Or, "Do you like this?" While you're doing something isn't awkward if your tone is intimate and genuine. Her verbal response gives you explicit feedback, but even more valuable is how she responds, the enthusiasm in her voice, the quickness of her answer, the specificity. An enthusiastic, "Yes, exactly like that," is different from a polite, "That's nice," and paying attention to that difference guides your next move. Third is pacing, that follows her arousal rather than rushing toward a goal. Women's arousal builds in waves, not linear progression. There are moments when intensity should increase and moments when maintaining steady stimulation allows her arousal to deepen. Paying attention means noticing when she's plateauing and needs more intensity versus when she needs you to maintain exactly what you're doing without changing anything. Fourth is the transition moments, the spaces between different activities. These transitions are often where men lose the thread of connection. You finish one thing and immediately jump to the next without checking in, without reading whether she's ready for that transition. Slowing down these moments, maintaining physical contact, making eye contact, reading her readiness before moving forward, these details create seamless flow that keeps her immersed in the experience rather than jolting her out of it. Let me share what women actually say when asked about this in confidential surveys. The most common themes are feeling rushed, feeling like their partner is following a checklist, sensing that their partner's attention is on performance or outcome rather than on the present moment and connection. Women describe feeling like objects being acted upon rather than partners in a mutual experience. They talk about wanting their partners to notice the subtle signals they're sending and adjust accordingly. One woman described it perfectly. "I want him to treat the entire experience like a conversation where he's actually listening to what I'm saying, not just waiting for his turn to talk." That metaphor captures it beautifully. If you're truly paying attention, you're receiving information constantly, processing it, and responding appropriately. You're not just executing moves you learned, you're dancing with a partner and following her lead even while you're leading. Here's a practical example of what this looks like. Let's say you're kissing and touching her, and you notice her breathing has quickened and her body is pressing closer to yours. Those signals indicate increasing arousal and readiness for more intensity. So you gradually increase the intensity of your touch, moving to more sensitive areas, applying slightly more pressure, introducing new sensations. As you do this, you're watching for continued positive response. But then you notice her body tenses slightly, not in a good way, and her breathing becomes a bit shallow and held. These are signals that you've moved too fast or too intensely, that her arousal hasn't caught up to the intensity you're providing. Instead of pushing forward, you ease back slightly, returning to the level of stimulation she was responding well to moments before. You give her nervous system time to regulate, her arousal time to rebuild, and then you try again more gradually. This constant reading and adjusting prevents the common pattern where women feel overwhelmed, pushed beyond their comfort zone, or rushed through stages their body isn't ready for. It creates an experience where she feels safe, respected, and responded to, which paradoxically allows her to relax more deeply and experience greater pleasure than if you had charged forward. Another critical aspect of paying attention is understanding that for most women, mental and emotional arousal must precede and accompany physical arousal. If her mind isn't engaged, if she's distracted by stress or disconnection, physical stimulation alone won't create the deep satisfaction she's seeking. Paying attention means noticing when she's mentally present and when she's not. If you sense she's distracted, slowing down and reconnecting emotionally through eye contact, intimate conversation, or tender non-goal-oriented touch, brings her back into presence. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is pause all physical progression and simply hold her, look into her eyes, and reconnect as people who care about each other beyond the physical interaction. This is the part of attentiveness that many men find most challenging because it requires putting aside your own arousal and agenda to prioritize connection. But here's the beautiful truth. When you do this successfully, when you create that deep emotional and mental presence for her, her physical response becomes dramatically more intense and satisfying for both of you. It's not a sacrifice. It's an investment that pays enormous dividends. Let's talk about specific body language cues that indicate you're on the right track versus cues that suggest adjustment is needed. Positive indicators include her initiating touch or movement, vocalizations that sound genuine and unforced, muscle relaxation in areas that were previously tense, steady deepening of breath, eyes closing in a relaxed way, and her body moving toward your touch rather than away. Indicators that suggest slowing down or changing approach include muscle tension that doesn't release, breathing that becomes irregular or held, decreased vocalization or forced sounds, eyes that look distant or unfocused, her body pulling away slightly, even unconsciously, or a general sense of going through motions without genuine engagement. These cues aren't always dramatic or obvious. Sometimes they're incredibly subtle. A micro-expression, a slight change in breath pattern, a fractional movement toward or away. Developing the skill to notice these subtle signals requires practice and genuine focus on her rather than on yourself or your performance. Here's something else women wish you understood. Paying attention doesn't mean you need to be uncertain or hesitant. Confidence and attentiveness aren't opposites. You can be completely confident in your approach while remaining flexible and responsive. In fact, true confidence comes from knowing you can read your partner and adjust successfully, not from rigidly following a plan regardless of feedback. Women respond powerfully to a partner who moves with confident purpose while simultaneously staying attuned to their responses. It's the combination that's magnetic. It communicates, I know what I'm doing, and I'm completely focused on you and your experience. That's incredibly attractive and creates psychological safety that allows deeper vulnerability and pleasure. Let me address a common misconception. Some men think that asking questions or checking in demonstrates uncertainty or kills the mood. But women consistently report the opposite. When done with intimate tone and genuine curiosity, verbal check-ins enhance connection and demonstrate care that increases attraction. The key is how you do it. Instead of clinically asking, "Is this okay?" in a worried tone, you might say intimately, "I love watching you respond to this," or whisper, "Tell me what you need right now." These communicate the same interest in her experience, but with confidence and intimacy that enhance rather than interrupt the mood. Another powerful form of attentiveness is anticipation. Noticing patterns in her responses and anticipating what she'll want next. When you've been with someone for a while and you've genuinely paid attention, you start recognizing her unique patterns. You know that after certain stimulation, she usually wants more pressure, or that she tends to be more sensitive at certain times. Using this knowledge to anticipate her needs makes her feel deeply known and cared for. But here's the important nuance. Even when you think you know her patterns, you still pay attention in the moment because patterns aren't absolute. Sometimes what she usually loves isn't what she needs today. The skill is holding your knowledge lightly, using it as a guide, but remaining open to present moment feedback that might differ from the pattern. Let's talk about the aftermath, because attentiveness doesn't end when the physical intensity does. How you treat her in the minutes and hours following intimate connection profoundly affects how she perceives the entire experience and whether she feels truly seen and valued. This is where many men completely drop the ball. Staying physically close, continuing gentle touch, engaging in intimate conversation, or simply holding her while you both relax, these actions communicate that she matters beyond the physical release. They extend the connection and create emotional satisfaction that often matters more to her than the physical pleasure itself. Conversely, immediately rolling over, getting up to do something else, or shifting attention to your phone or TV sends the message that she was a means to an end, that now that the goal is achieved, you're done paying attention. This creates resentment and disconnection that accumulates over time, eventually damaging the intimate relationship, even if the physical encounters themselves were pleasurable. Here's what makes this whole topic so powerful, yet so rarely discussed. Women don't want to have to teach you this. They want you to care enough to notice, to be curious about their experience, to prioritize connection over performance. When you demonstrate this attentiveness naturally, it communicates love, respect, and genuine interest in them as individuals. It makes them feel valued in a way that creates deep bond and loyalty. But when this attentiveness is absent, when women feel like their partners are following scripts or focused primarily on their own experience, it creates emotional distance, even if the physical aspects are technically competent. Over time, this distance erodes desire and connection, leading to the intimacy problems that plague so many long-term relationships. The beautiful thing about developing this skill of attentive presence is that it improves every other aspect of your relationship too. The same quality of attention that transforms intimate encounters also deepens emotional connection in daily life. When you truly listen, notice, and respond to your partner in all contexts, you create relationship quality that most couples never achieve. So here's your action plan. Starting today, approach intimate moments with genuine curiosity about your partner's experience. Before, during, and after, continuously check in with yourself. Am I truly paying attention to her right now? Or am I on autopilot? Am I noticing her signals and responding to them? Am I present with her or thinking about performance, outcome, or something else entirely? Practice reading her body language in non-intimate contexts first. Notice how her posture, breathing, and facial expressions reflect her emotional state during regular conversations. Developing this observational skill in low-stakes situations makes it easier to read subtle cues during intimate moments when your own arousal might otherwise overwhelm your attentiveness. During intimate encounters, deliberately slow yourself down. Create space for observation and adjustment. Resist the urge to rush toward a goal. Instead, treat each moment as valuable in itself, an opportunity to create connection and pleasure rather than a step toward completion. This mindset shift alone will dramatically change the quality of your intimate experiences. Ask for feedback outside of intimate moments. Have conversations when you're both relaxed and connected about what she truly enjoys, what makes her feel most seen and desired, what she wishes happened more or less. Frame these conversations with genuine curiosity and openness to feedback, not defensiveness. The information she shares becomes a roadmap for creating more satisfying experiences for both of you. And finally, remember that this isn't about perfect performance. You'll miss cues sometimes. You'll misread signals. That's normal and expected. What matters is the overall pattern of genuine effort to pay attention and respond. Women don't expect perfection, they expect sincere effort and care. When they feel that consistent attentiveness, minor mistakes don't matter because the foundation of being truly seen and valued is solid. The number one move that 93% of women never tell you about isn't a physical technique. It's a quality of presence, attention, and responsiveness that creates experiences of genuine intimacy rather than just physical interaction. It's the difference between going through motions and creating moments of deep connection that both partners treasure. Starting right now, you have the knowledge and awareness to transform your intimate life. Not through learning new techniques or trying harder physically, but through the simple yet profound act of truly paying attention to the woman you're with, reading her signals, responding to her needs, and creating experiences where she feels completely seen, heard, and valued. That's what she's been hoping you'd figure out all along. See you in the next video.